Anything Harry pours his heart into, he believes he has done everything he can. But this time, the consequences followed him all the way back to Windsor Castle. A sudden shift inside the royal circle triggered the biggest shock in months. Harry's presence back at the palace has been confirmed, but the circumstances around his return are nothing close to ordinary. His arrival happened in secret, and the impact is already spreading through the family's inner ranks. But worst of all is Meghan's furious reaction. The recent move has turned into a full-blown power struggle. Ties once strained are being tested again, and every step Harry takes now carries a heavy consequence. Something pulled him back into the palace, and now the implications cannot be ignored. The night shift security officer at the royal palace noticed a black Range Rover approaching Windsor Castle through the rarely used gate just after 11 in the evening. The vehicle moved slowly along the private access road that connected to the staff quarters and maintenance buildings. The driver displayed the correct credentials and security codes that granted immediate access without the standard checkpoint procedures. The gates opened and the vehicle disappeared into the shadows of the castle grounds. Prince Harry emerged from the rear passenger seat wearing dark clothing and a baseball cap pulled low over his face. His personal protection officer walked closely beside him as they moved quickly toward a side entrance normally reserved for senior staff members. The door opened from the inside before they reached it. Someone had been watching and waiting for their arrival. Harry stepped through the doorway and went straight through the private corridors of the ancient building. The overnight cleaning crew began their usual rounds through the state apartments. At midnight, one worker pushing a cart of supplies along a hallway near the private quarters noticed lights on in a room that normally remained dark at that hour. Voices carried faintly through a partially open door. The worker recognized the deeper tones of an older man speaking, but could not identify the second voice responding. The conversation sounded serious and intense rather than casual. Another staff member preparing the breakfast service areas before dawn spotted unexpected security officials in sections of the castle that usually remained calm overnight. Additional protection officers stood at attention near doorways leading to the private family wings. Their presence indicated someone important had arrived without the advance notice that typically accompanied royal visits. The officer on duty refused to answer any questions about the heightened security measures. The early morning shift change brought more people into the working areas of the castle. Staff members exchanged confused glances and whispered questions about the unusual activity during the night. Someone mentioned seeing a vehicle with tinted windows parked in the private courtyard reserved for family members. Another person reported hearing footsteps and voices in the king's private study well past midnight. A household manager conducting routine morning checks noticed fresh coffee cups and used glasses in the king's private sitting room. The items had not been there during the final evening inspection. Someone had clearly spent considerable time in that space during the night hours. The manager also observed that certain security protocols had been activated in patterns associated with protecting high-profile family members rather than routine overnight security. By 7 in the morning, word had spread among the palace staff that Prince Harry had somehow arrived at Windsor Castle without any public announcement or official schedule. The information passed discreetly between trusted colleagues who understood the sensitive nature of unannounced royal movements. Everyone recognized that such secrecy meant the visit involved delicate family matters rather than official duties or public engagements. Staff members went about their duties with extra care to avoid any sections where private conversations might still be taking place. The protection officers maintained their positions near key access points. The security arrangements confirmed that Harry remained somewhere within the castle walls despite the approaching daylight hours. Kitchen staff preparing breakfast noticed orders for the king's private dining room included portions for 2 people rather than the single serving Charles typically requested for early morning meals. The specific dietary preferences indicated in the order matched known details about Harry's eating habits. This practical evidence removed any remaining doubt about the identity of the overnight visitor. The morning progressed with Harry still concealed somewhere in the private family quarters. His vehicle remained parked in the secured courtyard, away from any public viewing areas. Palace officials made no statements or acknowledgments about any unexpected visitors, despite the growing awareness among staff members. The careful concealment of details indicated the serious importance of maintaining absolute secrecy about Harry's presence. Senior staff members began calculating the implications of this covert visit. Harry had not set foot inside a royal residence in England for many months. His sudden appearance without Meghan or their children suggested urgent family business rather than a casual visit. The late-night arrival and extreme security measures pointed to conversations that could not happen over phones or video calls. Something significant was unfolding behind the ancient stone walls of Windsor Castle. King Charles sat behind the large mahogany desk in his private study when a knock on the door announced someone's presence. Harry came in and settled into the leather chair across from him. The room smelled of old books and furniture polish. Heavy curtains blocked any view from outside. A single lamp provided warm light that cast shadows across the walls lined with family photographs and paintings. The king pushed a folder of documents across the desk toward his younger son. Harry opened the folder and began reading through pages of legal text and financial statements. The documents detailed various properties and assets connected to the royal estates. Some papers contained information about trusts and inheritances that would eventually transfer between generations. Charles explained specific clauses and provisions while Harry studied each page carefully. The conversation remained businesslike and focused on practical matters rather than emotional topics. The discussion moved to upcoming royal events scheduled for the next several months. Charles outlined his vision for modernizing certain traditions while maintaining essential ceremonial duties. He described gaps in the family's public presence that needed filling as various members reduced their workloads or stepped back from active service. Harry listened without interrupting as his father presented careful arguments about duty and legacy. Charles explained his declining health concerns and the reality that he might not have as many years ahead as anyone hoped. He spoke plainly about the burden falling on William and Catherine to carry the institution forward. The king acknowledged that the younger generation needed support and that family unity would become increasingly important. He suggested that Harry could play a specific role without returning to full-time royal duties or relocating permanently to England. Harry responded with questions about how such an arrangement would actually function. He raised concerns about media attention and public perception, given everything that had happened over recent years. Charles presented plans that palace advisors had developed for gradual rehabilitation of Harry's public image through carefully selected charitable initiatives and limited ceremonial appearances. The proposals included clear boundaries and specific expectations. The conversation shifted to